Hello and welcome back, everyone. I hope everyone is having a good day so far. So, today we are going to be doing some Soulframe. Soulframe Preludes 15 came out Wednesday, I think. So, just a couple days ago. So, I was thinking it was maybe going to be a little bit closer to the end of the month, but I was wrong. So, I'm very excited that we get to start Preludes 15 Gods and Ghosts today. We will be starting off by reading through the fairly long patch notes that'll take up a little bit of time, and then we will jump on in and try everything out. So let's go ahead and just get started because it's probably going to take a minute to read through all of this. Um, so, Preludes 15 Gods and Ghosts is out now. Um, Soulframe Preludes 15, Gods and Ghosts arrives. Midrath stirs with relics to claim, spirits to answer, and steel to temper. This update brings a major loot and crafting rework, introducing fully built weapon drops, tempers, craftworks, cord stones, and deeper refinement with uh, to I always forget how to say her name. Tuvolcane, Tuva, Tuvolcane, Tuvolcane, I think is how you say it. Um, Hello, Shell. Hello, Patty. Welcome back. Glad to have you guys here. Um, Beyond the Forge, Pigwin Scary rises from the fog. Trading and dispatches arrives in Alka. Omen Beasts and Ancestors bestow new graces. Siege shifts with fresh hazards, and mockeries haunt the wilds with sharper intent. Alka grows stranger, richer, and more restless. So, big things here. So, loot and crafting rework. Midrath teams with magicked weapons and tempered metals envoy. Soulframe Preludes 15 introduces a major loot and crafting rework, changing how weapons are found, previewed, broken down, upgraded, and refined. Weapons can now drop fully built from enemies, chest, activities, and other sources throughout Alka. Those worth keeping can be brought back to Tuva Kulne and refined into stronger steel. New weapon loop. Weapons throughout Minrath now arrive with unique properties shaped by their craftwork, tempers, and origin. Envoys can preview dropped weapons before picking them up, salvage unwanted finds into resources, and refine favored weapons with cordstones to increase their craftwork. In short, discover fully built weapons throughout Midrath, preview craftwork and tempers before picking them up, break down unwanted weapons into resources, refine chosen weapons with cordstones to improve their craftwork, seek stronger tempers, and pursue the perfect weapon. This rework aims to make loot more exciting, weapon drops more meaningful, and crafting a deeper investment into the equipment carried through Alka. We're also exploring further options for rerolling tempers, and we'll share more when that work is further along. So, I'm super excited for this. Pretty much every weapon and things are just going to drop weapons as is, kind of like the Orse that we had been farming a little bit. So everything's just going to have random rolls. I'm really excited for it. It kind of reminds me of like the Destiny loot system a little bit. So I'm really excited to give that a try and see what kind of rolls and stuff we can get. Um, my biggest thing that I'm curious about is how the drop rates are going to be, because I'm hoping that it's not like a horrible pain in the butt to try and farm things, but I also don't want the drop rates to be so high that it feels like you're constantly dealing with loot versus actually playing the game. That was one of the problems I had with it was a Borderlands 3 and even a little bit in 4. It's like you were getting more loot than you knew what to do with, and it felt like you spent more time dealing with the loot than playing the game. So hopefully, I mean, you can dismantle things as it drops, so that'll be a good way to help with that. but just in general. Hopefully, you're not sitting there like constantly dismantling and picking things up and it doesn't interfere with things too much, but also have it be enough to where it's not a horrible, tedious pain in the butt to try and farm for like the perfect roll. So updating stats and introducing tempers. I got like a little example of Doolean here. As mentioned in Preludes 14.5, all weapons now feature additional stats to reflect their strength, quality, and origin. Craftwork determines the quality of the weapon, which dictates how many tempers the weapons can potentially have. Tempers, unique aspects, granting augmented abilities to the weapon. So these down here, these are the perks that they roll with, and the craftwork has 6 or 7 tiers, I think, and that just determines how many tempers it gets. Found when the weapon was acquired, so it kind of keeps track of, did you get this weapon? Have you been using this weapon for like years or days or whatever, which is kind of neat. Maker, the envoy who forged or found the weapon. Does that show that on here? Origin signifies the make of the weapon, so it's the style of weapon. I don't know what the maker means. I guess does it? Where does it show maker on here? Because I'm pretty sure this is supposed to be some kind of like day or month or something. It's just part of like the date. I don't see where it has maker, but I guess now that they have trading, it shows this will be like who originally got the weapon. So if you end up trading it to somebody, your name will still be on it, which is kind of cool. Good afternoon, Sue. Welcome back. Glad to have you here. All right, Preludes 15 introduces a previewable tooltip of weapons that have been dropped on the ground. Preview a tooltip of the craftwork and tempers. Break down previewed weapons into resources. Weapon craftwork is now reflected in the banner of the weapon. Interesting. Weapons previewed when dropped or in the arsenal and inventory now bear a silvern vine to reflect their moonsteel stature. Cool. So yeah, you can just hold to dismantle. That way you have like an idea. So you're gonna have to figure out what all of the icons actually mean. So at least for me, the first several I pick up, I'm probably gonna have to just actually pick up and manually dismantle everything until I get a better feel for what all of these icons mean. Ooh, excuse me. Cool. So if it has the moon steel shiny variant, you can kind of see that here, which is cool. Acquiring new equipment. Weapons are now acquired fully built from a variety of sources, ready to wield the moment they are found. Discover Alka's weaponry from their thematic origins, whether uncovered from a dendrit stash tucked beyond a secrety glade, or reclaimed from Odin pillaging. Different origins will contain their own unique tempers to discover. Enemies will have a greater chance of dropping the weapon they are wielding, but may drop other weapons. As well, weapons earned while under the effect of the Koga will offer a greater chance at a higher craftwork. That's really good. Then there's like really a reason to go into the Koga. That's awesome. I'm curious to how much greater it the chance is. Acquired weapons can now be broken down in the inventory or sold for Drax, specifically with Zenith. 1-star and 2-star weapons. Each fully crafted 1-star and 2-star weapons, varying craftwork from activities around Midwrath. Earn fully crafted 1 and 2 star weapons, varying craftworks. Okay. Juniper is now acquired as a fully built weapon when gathered from the appropriate music shrines. Weapons purchased from enclaves are now acquired wholly crafted. 3 star weapons such as Gathanin or Marrow's Bane are crafted with the fragments acquired from their original activities. Once forged, these weapons are granted a random craft work. Okay, so all of the like higher tier 3 star loot, you still have to like um, craft and like earn the fragments. But now there's a reason to continue to farm them because it's a random craft work. So that's kind of interesting. So hopefully the crafting costs aren't too crazy for the, I guess the crafting cost is probably going to be pretty much the same, I would assume. Tuvalkane's hammer rings true. Offer up your weapons and refine them to legendary heights. Envoys can begin refining their weapons under Tuvalkane's care, found under the new Refine tab. By refining your favored weapon, its craftwork is increased and tempers are granted. Refining your weapon will require a bounty of miscellaneous materials depending on the origin of your favorite implement. However, envoys will also need to craft a new resource, cord stones. Like any other piece of equipment, cordstones are forged with Tuvokane. By increasing your bond with her, you'll gain access to greater cordstones to forge. Cordstones can also be acquired from Zenith's wares for arcs. Breaking down weapons will also reward resources, depending on the origin of the weapon to be used towards refining. A weapon of higher craftwork has a chance to yield rarer materials. Crafting cordstones and acquiring lamprites, whatever that is. Hushed cordstone. Interesting. Introductory cordstones will only demand simple resources. To craft higher quality cordstones, envoys will need to acquire lamporites. Three types of lamporites are used to or are to be uncovered with each vital in their corresponding cordstone. Each rarity of lamprite will forge a stronger cordstone. Lamporites can be earned through Midrath's very activities and uncovered from lurking chest. Complete sieges, the organ, and the collector. While under the effects of the Koga, retrieved from chests around Midrath, and random lamprite bundles are also offered by Avocat's Gots for arcs. Rare lamprites cost more arcs. Once your cordstones are amassed, return to Tuvalkane and begin refining your favored weapons into a craft work benefiting its status. Cool, cool. Previously crafted weapons, Zenith's wares, and Founder's gear. All previously crafted weapons are stock and they can be refined. Zenith will now offer a random selection of 4 weapons bearing a noble craftwork. Such offerings will consist of 2 melee, 1 magic, and 1 ranged. The selection of weapons and tempers refreshes every 6 hours. Founder's weapons are of noble craftwork and Feykin origin and come with pre-selected tempers. Um, General changes. Change the galvanic strike temper. Enemies affected now take increased stagger damage for 5 seconds. Enemies now have a chance to be affected rather than being affected on each hit. Interesting. Sinecure Errant Goth no longer drops a guaranteed Orst 3. The guaranteed Orst 3 drop was added in Preludes 14 to give envoys a fast way to try the Tempers preview system. Since every weapon can now feature Tempers, this guaranteed drop is no longer needed. Okay. Virtue changes. Virtue Lith removal. Liths were introduced in Preludes 14.5 as an experiment to support virtue customization. However, requiring a consumable item to freely experiment with builds felt too limiting, whether you wish to make a single point, tweaks, or were lacking in spares. As a result, liths have been removed. Virtue allocation can now be adjusted without needing the consumable. I think that's a good change. Totems and rune rework. Totems are receiving a major overhaul with the advent of tempers becoming available on all weapons. New totem effects. Totems now revolve around runes and smites. Depending on the totem, they'll activate from the following actions. Passively affects runes. Effects activates upon casting a rune. Uh, activates upon a pole smite, activates upon a smite. I'm not 100% sure what the difference between these are. If upon a smite just means like when it opens the enemy up for a pole smite, but you don't actually have to do it, would be my assumption there. Such effects may include healing or damage dealt to a foe after using Pole Smite, an explosion at the point of the Pole Smite, or simply more rune dealt damage. So we have an example here. The Diving Drake Pole Smite deals plus 100 additional damage. That's kind of crazy. Why are these ones red? Are these like shiny variants of the animals or something? Interesting. Packed art changes. Did I? Yeah, okay. So this will take a little bit to go in and look at once we first log in, because we're gonna have to like completely adjust our runes or our runes and totems probably. Packed art changes. A few new totems have inherited the capability of the sympathy and voided packed arts. Thus, these packed arts have been changed. The voided pact art is now forestall. Cheat death once more. Gain a chance to survive where otherwise you would die. The sympathy pact art is now stalwart. Stand tall. Gain a chance to resist being knocked down. Okay. Earning and equipping new totems. Granted new abilities, totems are now equipped with virtues in mind and can be equipped on any weapon. The UI to equip a totem has been updated to reflect the virtue trifecta, courage, spirit, and grace, have taken the place of the attack, defense, and utility slots. Once you've charmed one of Alka's critters, your newly acquired totem will have a few new effects. Totems are now assigned a random virtue. Gain empowered totems by equipping them in the matching virtue slot. That's interesting. So they're kind of bringing in polarities in a sense. Totems have a chance of being assigned a grip type. Totems granted a specific grip type become stronger when appropriately equipped. Okay. To accommodate such sweeping changes, all prior totems have been converted into harmony to help upgrade our new fluffy friends. Oh, wait. So they just straight up deleted all of your totems? Okay, so I if I'm understanding this correctly, that means we have to go in and retame all of our animals to get our totems back. So we're going to be starting from scratch again, which is interesting. Not sure how I feel about that, but whatever, I guess. New island, Pigwin Scary. I kind of like this. They kind of showed this a little bit in some of their dev streams and stuff. It's got kind of a very spooky, ghosty, like haunted little town vibe, and I'm all for it. Is that a lighthouse yonder past the fog? Envoys wandering north of Greater Curlail. I feel like that's supposed to be a T, but I don't know for sure. Um, May stumble upon the seashore path to Pigwin's Skerry, an island off the coast of Midrath, but be wary of its territorial denizens and the Ode who trespass all the same. Cassid weaponry awaits beyond the shores, clutched by long-brined sailors and salt-rotten chests. New world encounters and points of interest. The denizens of Midrath work around the clock, the spell song singing so sweetly. Explore Midrath to witness the Dendria fulfilling Odin efforts around the world. New siege variants. Midrath sieges loom with building schemes and hazards and a change in guard. While completing a siege, the Ode will deploy countermeasures, whether they're covering their tracks or stalling the Liberators. Sieges present new objectives and hazards, either to halt the envoy's progress or to create an imminent threat. Once an objective begins, the envoy will receive a prompt directing them to complete it. Um, objective completion replaces the need to eliminate every enemy present for an S rank. By completing this without yielding a perishing blow, an envoy can achieve an S rank. Okay, so you just have to do the objective and not die to get S rank. Other hazards and special foes may emerge while completing a siege. So we'll start doing like all the sieges again and kind of see how they change. So trading has been added. I'm personally not going to probably do a whole lot with this because I'm pretty much just doing this game solo. Trading has come to Alka. To access trading, envoys will need to access the air and enclave or go to a world tree. Utilize your emote wheel to access the trading option to offer items, or press the trading prompt on Envoy to offer items. Envoys have a limited number of trades they can make per day depending on their level, +1. Envoys can trade the following items freely for a small scootage fee: crafted weapons, crafted armor, crafted talismans, joineries, runes and totems, various resources, and turn-ins. So that's most things. But I do remember specifically saying you cannot train the real money currency yet. Um, so pretty much any gear. It's interesting that you can also trade the armor as well. Envoys cannot trade items you can only have one of and already own, such as armor pieces. Envoys cannot trade items you only have one of and already owns. So you can't get rid of your last set of things. Traded weapons will inherit the same level of identical weapons in the recipient's account. To illustrate, receiving a level 30 Vetch while yours is only 5 will result in acquiring a level 5 Vetch. Arcs and Founders items cannot be traded at this time. Envoys will need to activate Envoy Guard / two-factor authentication before being allowed to trade, and must agree to Soulframe's trading policies prompted upon accessing the trading window. Dispatches. The Spirit Guide has found a stray parchment or two. Envoys can now access dispatches to view messages sent to your account, which may include goodies, but will most certainly include some gab. Okay, so this is their new communication system, like they have in Warframe. Graces from Gods and Ghosts. Wandering omen beasts and frolicking ancestors offer much. Should you come across their grace, this update continues to expand on the boon system introduced in Preludes 14.5. New graces. Omen beasts and ancestors have had their offerings refreshed, featuring new graces discovered unique to themselves. Orengal may offer enemies the swiftness of their kill, whereas the bounding hoof of Garen's leap may bring the envoy closer to the sky. Seek them out and see what is granted anew. As well, the visual effects when encountering an omen beast or ancestor in the wilds of Mithrath have been updated. New Siege, Turret Jotar. A watchtower built in the late reign of Clan Jotar it functioned not only in the network of signal flames across the Isles, but also a school for young royals. Looming over their sanctuary of the Kith, Turret Jotar now bears new occupiers as the Ode emplace their sky lantern. Find your way through, Envoy, whether by courage or by grace. This one looks really small compared to some of the others. We'll definitely have to check it out. New foe, Odin Kalem. It's like floating guy that goes around grabbing chests. The lumbering drones carry with them their pounds of Drax and iron. Flanked by an entourage of Odin soldiers, they seek to bring their treasures back to a stronghold, relieve them of their fortunes, and return these riches to Midrath. Mockery changes. The shackling of white-runed dead wood saunters ever closer, haunting the lands of Alka. Take heed of their apparitions' arms, for they swing their new intent and scream with even greater nonsense. Mockeries weep and bellow, screaming their terror at the envoy in the form of damaging projectiles. That sounds like a pain in the butt. Mind the encroaching rot beneath you, Envoy, for their magics will gnaw from below with deadly intent. Updated mockery attack animations to reduce jitteriness. Updated sound effects and visual effects to better reflect their new abilities. That's very interesting. So it sounds like these guys are getting a lot more dangerous. New weapon, Vedalk, the like great axe, which looks pretty badass. I'm excited to get one of these. History's Lost, soon to be revealed. Patience, Envoy. Velk can now be acquired from Odin Origins. New weapon, Ilveric. Ilveric, however you say these names. What is that? We're holding it with one hand, it looks like, but it kind of looks like a great sword. History is lost, soon to be revealed. Can be acquired from Odin Heritage or Odin Origins. The Rush 9, the like shocky mace thing that they showed off in one of their streams. Odin Origins. Combat changes. Increase the difficulty while under the effects of the Koga. Enemies have a base level of 50, which I think it was 40 before, so that's a pretty sizable increase. Enemies now scale in level and strength based on party size. Cool. Reduce the drop chance of life elixirs. Reduce the chance of smiting foes. That's interesting. So they're pretty much trying to just make the Koga way harder by essentially getting rid of how much healing you can do, which was already somewhat limited. Increase the stagger damage taken while blocking. Interesting. Increase the base damage of 1-star and 2-star weapons. The following weapons are now 1-star. Falx, Orin Umber, Vetch, and Blitzel. Life elixir changes. Life elixirs now heal a percentage of life, then heal over time until fully restored. Interesting. Taking damage halts the heal over effect time. Consuming another elixir hastens the heal over time effect. That's very interesting. I'm curious of what this percentage is. If it's like a 25% and then you just slowly heal over time. But I do like that. So if you get out of combat, you can essentially get a full heal instead of trying to like use multiple elixirs every time you're out of combat. Pact art changes. The healer pact art is now physic. Survival graces the well prepared. Increase the amount of life elixirs you can carry. The Voided Pact art is now 4 stall. Cheat death once more. We are okay. We read a couple of those. All right, general changes. I think we're about at the end here. Benefiting its 2-star rarity, Gossamer Quartz is yielding more commonly amongst Alka's foes and abating treasures to be better support weapon refining. Scrap iron is now a common resource. It feels like it already was, but okay. Updated the Digital Extremes logo when launching Soulframe. Envoys can now see double the distance of grass and foliage in Alka without major performance drops due to instance drawing. Region banners and borders highlights have been added to the map UI. Updated the UI of the XP bars beneath the Arcanics. Continued additions and improvements to Midrath's caverns, villages, and fortresses. Reduce the healing delivered to the other conductors by Conductor Petra in the Siege of Mirafure. Okay, that's kind of nice. Ghostly enemies may now appear at the Siege of Mirafure. Interesting. Improved the Durmak Undercity and Glades of Andurin dungeon size variants and increased the number of enemies you can encounter. That's kind of cool. Increased the level of enemies encountered in the Durmak Undercity slightly during the Tormented Stag Fable. Faction Tale XP can now be viewed in the journal. Oh yeah, that's a good change. Under a Votive's Spoils. Oh, never. Well, okay, that's a good change. I misunderstood. I thought this meant you could like see how much reputation you have, but this is just saying the it now tells you how much you get when you accept a Sparrowtail. So it's not trying to remember like a tier 3 of this level gives this much if it's in a dungeon versus not kind of thing. So, all right, don't know why my headset just randomly turned off there, but whatever. Um, so that's a nice change. It's not what I thought, so I'm slightly less excited, but that's still a really good change. Adjusted the frequency of the revive shrines in the Durmak Undercity, the Glades, and the Nethunes to more evenly distribute them. Revive shrines are now always present before the final Agari room. That's nice. Rovgot worms can now be encountered around Midrath's corrupted sludges. Cool. Added damage immunity during rune casting. That's interesting. Improved the Wraith of Waste and the Mendicant King's combat behavior and overall encounter flow. Added objective text to guide envoys back to Midrath after completing the Torment Stag. Added more of a challenge for envoys by increasing enemy alertness levels for all sieges. Improved tree rendering across Alka, allowing forests to appear denser and draw farther into view. Reduce the CPU and GPU performance impact of tree shadows, adjusted light scattering through hair to improve appearance in various lighting conditions. Further refinements are planned. Change the Siege objective UI to always be in the top left of the HUD. Then we got a whole bunch of fixes here. Not receiving rune charges. Oh, cool. That's really nice. That's really nice. Fixed not receiving rune charges when pole smiting a deceased enemy. Fixed split bolt consuming 2 charges when used with the charged heavy attack on pole arms. Fixed selling a bestitched item causing its unlocked appearance to be lost. Enclave messengers will um, Enclave messengers able to appear in the Silvern Sea during the Waste Bear. A floating door near the hut of Birdie's Bog. Player inspection sometimes not working while in the Enclave. Water surfaces. Rovgot Ruin. History modes not spawning properly. Visual bug when completing a siege would always display resulting a C rank despite earning greater rewards. Tutorial enemy incorrectly spawning during the Torment Stag Fable. Foes and animal imagery being cut off when viewed in the journal. Instances of awkward shadow pop in during the Waste Bear. Being unable to see the envoy loadouts when inspecting the control scheme. Fort kernel not having enemy reinforcements like other sieges. Client being unable to see Odin dropped goods. Enclaves not being tracked correctly during their discovery fables, being unable to add spaces to loadout names, 1 second crafting timers being incorrectly written as 1 second, fable objectives not being displayed above undiscovered world tree map fog, Drax not having descriptions, compass directions not being localized, newly created loadout UI overlapping until the envoys re-entered the arsenal. Enemy trolls sometimes stopping on their path for seemingly no reason. Enclave votives. Representative spawning inside dungeon streaming tunnels. Forest appearing unintentionally sparse in some areas. A crash which would occur when battling Ode at Midrath campfires and when finding an enclave. Very nice. A lot of changes there. I am super excited to hop into the game and give this a try. Um, I will say there was also a hot fix already, so let's see what this has. A couple of just quick fixes. Changes temporarily doubled the amount of totem bearing animals appearing throughout Alka until Monday, June 15th at 2 p.m. Okay, that's kind of cool to. They're essentially boosting how many animals there are since they just deleted everything from us. Um, with Preludes 15, all prior totems were converted into Harmony as part of the totem rework. Alka's animals have rallied from their lairs for a short time to help envoys rebuild their blessings under the new system. A totem-bearing animal appearance will return to their normal amount in a future hotfix. Restored the Koga elixir capacity to 100. Interesting. We are investigating a follow-up to restore Koga elixirs lost due to the previous cap introduced with Preludes 15. Removed lamprites dropping from rare dendrite chests while on the surface. These resources are intended to be a high-value reward from Midrath's challenges and activities alongside active dungeon diving. Disabled being able to dismantle picked up weapons while outside of the Nightfold. Disabled. We are currently chasing an issue where weapons aren't saved in the Envoy's arsenal until they return to the Nightfold. We are aiming to re-enable dismantling from the inventory anywhere once this issue is resolved. Ghostly apparitions no longer appear in the sewers of Castle's Mirafear. Interesting. That didn't last long. Fix lamprites not dropping properly from Koga Agari. Fix the totem inventory category utilizing the joinery icon. The draft dam totem not affecting rune depletion rate. Destructible objects using incorrect drop tables. Crafting hushed cordstones resulting in a loss of functionality. Script error while crafting. A bunch of script errors. Edit. Lamprite acquisition clarification. Lamprites can be acquired within any rare chest found in any dungeon anywhere. While lamprites no longer drop from overworld dendrite chests specifically, they do drop from similarly looking chests found within Alka's dungeons. These resources are intended to be high-value rewards from Midrath's challenges and activity alongside active dungeon delving. However, we are reviewing the method of acquiring lamprites and are making adjustments to acquisition and usage in an upcoming hotfix. Thank you for your feedback. Cool. All right. With all that